A FIFO partner, a mother of 3 young children, who posted in a FIFO wives support group on Facebook, "My partner has just died by suicide, but because he died on R&R, the company provide no support for me and my kids. What do I do now? Help me." I was a FIFO worker for 6 years. I loved it. I worked FIFO until I was 34 weeks pregnant. What I'm doing, I'll be fine. It's just a baby, you know. Good Lord. What a difference a baby can make. I'd be looking around and I just kept thinking to myself, why isn't there anything out there for FIFO families? There's got to be something better than this. There needs to be that one source of truth that families can go to in times of real struggle and strife and challenge.
Do you remember a time thinking, this lifestyle is really fucking hard?
Undiagnosed postnatal depression for 5 months with my daughter was a really tough time for us as a family. And then your partner had to fly back to work. And this new life that we had created together was then all for me to look after for 2 weeks. And I just said to him, why is there nothing else? And I thought, no, I've got to do it now. This is the story that made me start.
On today's episode of the Resource Podcast, we're really lucky to have the founder of the FIFO Family Project, Vicky Pellowe. She shares with us really vulnerably around what it's like to be a FIFO worker, the challenges that you face, but also her transition to being a parent and the partner that's at home. We speak about her diagnosis that changed everything for her, how she showed up, and it changed her passions and what she wants to give to the world. And we also speak about some of the conversations that she's been a part of in the challenges that not only the person who's out on site, but the partner at home and also the communities that are a part of being in FIFO. We speak about the importance of creating a village and how not everybody has family around or friends because they might have come from different countries, but the importance of connecting yourself with networks who can provide that for you. I'm really excited for you to listen to this podcast. I'm excited for you to have the takeaways, and I'm really looking forward to prompting some great conversations, not only for the crew out on site, but the family and the community that are involved in the families and being a FIFO worker. Excited to have you on the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm excited that we've made time to do this.
Yeah, me too.
This has been like something we've been talking about probably for, I think I've known you now for 3 or 4 years?
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
Even 5 years.
Yeah.
Having had you speak at the Quit Your Bitching event as one of the speakers with your really impactful and powerful story of, you know, being a survivor and sharing the things that you'd learned from that. So we've done it. Like, look at us go.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Welcome to the podcast. Vicky, you are a powerhouse. You've been in FIFO before, right?
Yes. Yep.
You've also you're a parent.
Yes.
You're a mama bear.
Yes.
You're a solid friend. You're always like, what I love about you as well is you're always supportive. I know that you've put my name forward for a lot of things, and it can definitely be really challenging. I think being a human, being a female, being a woman in business or a business owner is that it can be really scarcity mindset some of the time. So people aren't inclined to put people forward. But what I love about you is you do that, and I appreciate that. So tell me, Vicky, you are now working with, doing FIFO Family Project. Mm-hmm. You've created something pretty freaking magical in the guide and then doing the events. What is it like? What got you to that point? There's, so many things that you've done in the lead up to that. What got you to the point of where you're doing that now?
Yeah, totally. So I think for me, I, as you said, I was a FIFO worker for 6 years. I loved it. I worked FIFO until I was 34 weeks pregnant, so I looked like an extra from the Teletubbies. It was quite a challenge to find PPE that size, but we managed.
Just a clip.
So my husband and I were working FIFO for quite a long time. I was really involved in a lot of the mental health initiatives on site and the diversity networks and all about people. So that was always my big passion, was that people side of site. And came back to Perth. I was a contractor, so the job ended, as it were, and it was a good time to leave, but thought to myself, I've worked FIFO, husband worked FIFO, I know what I'm doing, it'll be fine. It's just a baby, Good Lord. What a difference a baby can make. Yeah. And just started a whole new FIFO lifestyle for us. Everything changed in that respect. Yes, becoming parents, of course, every journey in that respect is different, but FIFO parenting was a completely different ballgame that I hadn't even contemplated. And I'd be looking around, and there's a few sort of Facebook groups and everything for FIFO partners and FIFO workers, and I'd see lots of questions come up, lots of queries come up, lots of really heartbreaking stories looking for support and looking for help. And I kept thinking to myself, why isn't there anything out there for FIFO families? There's so much support now for FIFO workers and so much sort of intervention and awareness around mental health, awareness that we are people in a job. We're not just a number on a project. Yet these families are going through some of the same challenges at home. They live a rostered life. They live this FIFO lifestyle, and there's absolutely nothing there for them. I kept thinking to myself, when my daughter's older, I'll have time. I never have time. She is older. I still don't have time. Yeah. And now I have a son as well. So I finally bit the bullet last year and thought, right, well, I'm going to do something about it. And the FIFO Family Project started in May 2024.
Congratulations.
Thank
you did it. And like Deb, you touched on so many things there. I think speaking about time as like a human, as a parent in FIFO, because like you say, you kind of live two different lives. Yeah. If you're the person who's going away working in FIFO, you're living a life up on site and you're living a life when you're at home. And then the partner has a whole life when the other partner's away, and then has to navigate having that person come back into the environment, which can be really challenging, right? I've heard so many people some people say they can't wait to get back up to site.
Yeah.
And that it's heartbreaking because they haven't been kind of shown or told or felt willing enough to share the challenges of what comes from that they don't necessarily fit in to the lifestyle when they get home and vice versa.
Yeah.
We were speaking the other day and you touched on, a lot of the things that you've actually heard that people are struggling with and some of the most kind of heartbreaking things. I know that you are somebody who's empathetic and you're somebody who's compassionate for people, and I know that probably was tugging on your heartstrings, seeing all those things that were happening. But you spoke about a really specific, story that you shared the other day. Are you happy to kind of touch on that? Yeah. What was it that you read on a Facebook group that kind of tugged at your heartstrings that were like, I need to do something about this?
Yeah. So there have been many stories that I've seen over the years that I've just thought to myself, Facebook can't be the source of truth for you. It can't be where you seek support. Why is there nothing else? But this one story, when I read it, it just broke my heart. And I thought, no, I've got to do it now. This is the story that made me start, because it was a woman, a FIFO partner, a mother of 3 young children, who posted in a FIFO wives support group on Facebook, my partner has just died by suicide, but because he died on R&R, the company provide no support for me and my kids. How can I support my kids? What do I do now? Help me. On Facebook, because she had nowhere else to go. And I looked at that post and I thought, we've got to do better than this.
Yeah.
We can't have Facebook as the only place that she could go for support. Of course, she got a lot of solidarity, and of course, she got a lot of support on that post, but she, with the greatest will in the world, there wasn't a lot of actual tangible things that she could do or places that she could go or referrals to services that could support her in that space and support her children in that space. So that's what really got me thinking about, there's got to be something better than this. There needs to be that one source of truth that families can go to know that they're going to get referrals to trusted sources, to education, to information, and to professional support services that can really help them in times, any time, but particularly in times of real struggle and strife and challenge. Because you'll have heard me say before about FIFO, I do believe it's an amazing opportunity and privilege, but it is not without challenge and sacrifice for every member of the family. And when things go really bad, we need to have those support structures in place, not just for the worker, not just if it happens on site, but for the families as well, because they need the support too.
Mm. And it would have come from, I suppose, pain points that you had in your own kind of relationship. I think a lot of the time you don't shift and change you're not inclined to kind of make big changes unless you've seen the struggle yourself, or things, I suppose, as well, not even the struggle or where it's been hard, but things have worked for you.
Yep.
So when you're in, being in a relationship, you said you've been a FIFO worker and then you've also been a partner. What was it like, I suppose? What are some of the things that you saw being a FIFO worker, challenges with the relationships that you saw could have been, I suppose, navigated or talked about more?
Yeah, I think it's, well, the first thing is the level of understanding that everybody's finding something hard. I think it's so easy, especially with, now we're all on social media and everybody's posting this and that and the other. It's really hard for everyone to think, well, why are they having this so easy and why is it so hard for me? Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I have learnt from speaking to hundreds, probably thousands now, of FIFO families, either at the events, the meetups or online, is that every family has some kind of challenge, and a lot of them are similar. There's similar themes that come up, but it's just the case of you're not alone. And it is, if you're finding it hard, you're not failing. It is hard. Navigating a FIFO family or a FIFO relationship or any kind of non-traditional working pattern, if you will, it takes effort, intention, and creativity. It's not always going to be easy. It is going to be challenging. But you've got to be on the same team and willing to work through those challenges together, because otherwise it can become very separate lives.
You bring up something really important, is that relationships, like take mining out of it.
Yeah.
Relationships are hard.
Yes.
We're not taught how to have relationships, whether that's romantic or, in friendships. We're not taught how to be in the world and then be with somebody else in the world.
Yeah.
And then chuck mining in there, you're essentially living a long-distance relationship where, you might be at your best or you might be at your worst, and you might need a partner to be there with you, but you don't necessarily have a choice.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time where you were sitting there thinking, oh, I just need I need my partner, or I wish that I was there for my partner, or there was something happening in your life where it made you go, oh, this lifestyle is really fucking hard?
I think for me, undiagnosed postnatal depression for 5 months with my daughter was a really tough time for us as a family, for myself and for my partner, because it was so confronting and so confusing. And hindsight's wonderful, isn't it? You look back now and you think, well, of course it was fucked.
Yeah.
Of course it was. You had a baby who didn't sleep. You had various amounts of challenges getting that baby. And then your partner had to fly back to work. He was just adjusting to being a dad. You were adjusting to being a mum. Both of us are migrants to WA, so we have varying versions and limitations on family support. And all of a sudden, then he had to leave. And this new life that we had created together, this screaming, very loud, very beautiful life, was then all for me to look after for 2 weeks. Was at that point was what we were doing. And over the next sort of few months, as things progressed and things happened, it got to 5 months, and I just said to him, "We can't do this anymore. We can't continue this FIFO life like this anymore. You need to come home. FIFO will always be there. You have a good career. You have good references. You're good at what you do. We live in WA. You're always going to have the opportunity for FIFO. We are always going to have the opportunity to FIFO again. Right now, for our family, it's not working." And he came back. Now, COVID, which nobody saw coming.
The C word, the dreaded C word. Yep.
So that all came into play rather unexpectedly, I think we can say, for everybody.
Yeah.
And yes, so then he did end up going back to FIFO when my daughter was a little bit older, when I'd had treatment for postnatal depression, when we had come to a different stage and phase in our life. And this is something that I think is really important for all FIFO families, regardless if you have kids or not. FIFO relationships, anything to do with FIFO. It's such an interesting industry because you were talking about scarcity before. There's also a lot of fear and scarcity within the mining and FIFO industry as well about jobs, job cuts, not having work.
It's dog eat dog. Like people think they're going to take somebody else's job. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's so much fear there, which it plays out in a variety of different ways on site and reporting and all that kind of stuff. But I think I really had to have a really open conversation with my husband and just say, it's not forever, it's just for right now. Like, it's just what we've got to do for right now. And then when we're at a different stage, let's talk about it again and see if it's right for us right then. That stage, it was okay. He went away again. We've done various different rosters. I can't remember exactly which one he was doing at what time, but it worked better. I wasn't suffering with postnatal depression anymore. Things had changed. My daughter had changed. Our lives had changed. COVID has changed everything.
Yeah.
And it just meant that it was right for us right then. So I think it's really important for families to, when they're having those discussions, be really open and honest when communicating, of course, but have that in your back of your mind, that sort of option and opportunity is always going to be there. It's not a now or never kind of thing. It's not as if you leave FIFO now, you're never going to go back. It's always there and it's always going to be an option. It's got to be what's right for you and your family at that point in time. Look after yourselves first as people, and then look for different careers. Maybe it's study, maybe it's something else, but FIFO will always be there.
Yeah. Just knowing, I suppose, there's an out and there's an in. You get to make a choice in essence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if it's not working for you, it's not working for you. And this is the thing with FIFO as well, is again, it's very black and white. Oh, I've had one mum say to me, I feel like I'm failing at FIFO. I said, what do you mean? She said, I feel like I'm failing because I can't do this. It's too hard. She had a little baby. I said, love, you ain't failing at nothing. No one taught you anything. Nobody gave you any clues. Nobody gave you any education. Nobody gave you any training about how to do this.
Yep.
You were expected to go in blindfolded. You didn't know how hard this was going to be. You didn't know what challenges were going to come up for you. You're not failing at anything. This is just hard. And she went, oh. And I was like, this weight had been lifted off her shoulders. And she was like, you're right. I said, I know. And this is, again, part of the FIFO Family Project, which is really passionate in my heart, is education and information.
Yeah.
It's why I create the resources. It's why I do the workshops and the training, because there are some common themes and challenges that all FIFO families go through, all FIFO new parents go through, all FIFO workers go through with their families as well. But we have no information or education on it.
Yeah.
It's all just you find out when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And we can't live like that. It's not realistic. It goes very wrong very fast for a lot of families, which we don't want. We want preventative, proactive support, and that's what we need more of.
And so what are those things? Like, what are the most consistent things that you see?
Sure. So when you're looking at the New Parents Guide, which is what I've been working on recently, we're looking specifically at pregnancy, birth, and then the first year of parenthood, right? Things that come up a lot are isolation. So isolation, and that can be for any FIFO family. That doesn't have to be with a new kid anyway, but that level of isolation when nobody is coming home at the end of the day, when you're used to having a partner who works in the city, for example, you're used to having that regular interaction. That level of isolation, that when you have a new baby, all your coping mechanisms that you had for having a FIFO partner beforehand. So like for me, before I had, because we used to work different rosters, quite often I'd be on R&R on my own while my husband was at work, on site. You have those coping mechanisms to make that okay. You see friends, you go to work, you go to the gym, you do your hobbies, you do whatever you need to do to fill up your own cup when you are on your own. And I've had some wonderful conversations with women who've said to me, I didn't know how independent I was until I started FIFO.
Yeah.
This is great. I can do my own things. I can live my best life. And then when he's back, we live our best lives together.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, there's so many pros to this. I mean, there really are. But the isolation piece comes in when you have a new baby. All of those coping mechanisms generally are taken away. You don't have that freedom to do all those things that made it okay before because you have a little baby that needs you 24/7. You can't leave at night, you know, all those sorts of things. So a lot of FIFO new parents that stay at home then all of a sudden feel like they're starting from scratch because everything that did make FIFO okay before this now isn't available to them. So what can we do to support that? What can we do instead? How can we meet them where they're at? Okay, so you can't do this anymore. Well, can you do that? Okay. That's not available to you anymore. how can you find that support to be able to factor that into your life in some small way? Now, if that is going to the gym, for example, if your physical health involves going to the gym and you love that, you loved going to a spin class at 8 a.m. on a Thursday. It's not me, but I've heard people that do. And that was your thing, and that really filled up your cup, and that really was what made FIFO Life work for you, right? We're going to look for gyms in your area that have a creche. We're going to look for family and friends that are available for 1 hour on a Thursday, that when your partner's not home, that can come and look after your child during that time, so you can still do that. Now, you may have gone every day at 8 a.m. and now you can't do that every day, but what can we do? And I think that's the hardest part when you're feeling so overwhelmed, is that you've got to find ways to make it work and put things in where you can. You just have to be really creative about it. It's not as straightforward as it used to be, and it's not as straightforward as having a partner that comes home every night and comes in through the door to take that pressure off.
Yeah.
You've got to find other ways to take the pressure off.
Yeah. I think as well, when we're having this conversation, and perfect advice, there's so much I want to ask you around, like what postnatal depression can look like, the signs, if you haven't experienced it before. But also, we've had an experience before. I've had an experience before where there was one of the guys who works in mining, and he has got a 4-year-old kid. And the reason why I was speaking to him, he'd had a friend kind of reach out to me and say, hey, he's struggling. He's got some stuff going on. I really would love for you to talk to him. And it's not usually our job. We're not counsellors. We're more lived experience, and you're there, and we teach other people that to have a conversation and to listen and then direct people in the right, resources. And so this fellow had shared, he didn't want to share with me too much because he was like, is this confidential? Is this? And what had actually happened is it was Monday or Tuesday, and what had happened is he'd ended up in hospital on Friday night by taking tablets, overdosing, trying to take his life by suicide. He had a partner and also a 4-year-old. And he was sharing with me, and he was visibly like upset, saying, I just was arguing with my missus, I'm arguing with the 4-year-old, and it feels like there's nothing I can do to kind of make everybody happy. I feel like, the house I've got isn't big enough. I need to make more money, but I don't have any time for the gym, and I don't have, friends or family who can help me. So I find what happens in this conversation sometimes is you said it at the beginning where both of you are struggling, both of you it's hard for everyone.
Yeah.
And I love how you mentioned that, because a lot of the time it's not having the understanding that while you're struggling, the other partner's struggling as well. Do you hear that often as well? And what stuck out for me is when he said he's arguing with his 4-year-old. And I was like, why are you arguing with a 4-year-old? It's a kid, you know what I mean? And that was a really, not insensitive, but out of touch kind of thought, I suppose, because I'm not a parent. I don't argue with my niece and nephew necessarily. I get along with them. I get to be the one that comes in and, we can have fun with each other, and I get to take a step away. Do you find that a common theme or a conversation that you're touching on a fair bit?
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest themes that comes around that I hear more from FIFO workers than I do from families is I feel like I'm not connecting with my kids, or worse, they say I'm scared I'm fucking up my kids by doing this role.
Yeah.
And the overarching theme for that is it's about connection. So you are not fucking up your kids. You're not. You are doing this for your family, and you are a team together. And that's where, when it becomes hard, because it's that disconnect. I'm more tired. No, you're more tired. No, I'm more tired. No, you're more tired. Nobody wins. We're all tired.
Yeah.
We're all tired.
I'm tired because I've done a 12 to 14-hour shift. I'm tired because I've been waking up with the kids all through the night and trying to be emotional. It's exactly like you said.
It's definitely about how can we solve this problem together, as opposed to seeing each other as the problem.
Yeah.
And that is easier said than done when you're burnt to a crisp and that you just want to, go and stay in a hotel for 3 weeks and roughly, give or take. That would be quite nice.
Don't look at me. Don't contact me. I'm doing all the time. Yeah.
But yeah, it is around that sort of that piece that it's about connecting. And connecting is not just communicating. I see it all the time. Everyone's like, you've just got to communicate better. It's like, no, we can talk at each other forever. You've got to connect. And whatever that looks like for different people and different families is different. I'm mindful when people say to me, can you give me some tips and tricks? And I'm like, I can give you some ideas, but I don't know your family. You know your family. You know what works for your kids and what doesn't. If you don't, try one or two of these things. See if it works, see if it helps. If it doesn't, try one or two other things. So it's a case of like having the right tools available to choose from, but I can't tell you that this one thing is going to solve that problem because every family is different. Every kid is different. It's around what works for you and your family. But the key here is connection.
Yeah.
And connecting with kids can be done from afar. Connecting with relationships can be done from afar. It just looks different. So it may have been that you used to go out for dinner every Friday night and go to the movies and have a wonderful time together. You may not have that option anymore in your relationship. So again, it's about meeting people where they're at. What can you do? What can you do to get out of the day-to-day grind that then brings back connection, and not just asking, what the kids. My husband gets into this a lot, and we have to sort of try and work our way out of it as well, is that every time the kids are on their iPad, it's like, what did you do at school today? And the kids are like swinging from the rafters and trying to watch Pot the Builder or whatever it is that my son calls it. And sometimes it's more about, okay, well, what's that funny thing that happened today? And then my daughter's like, oh, well, so-and-so did this. And then they're laughing and they're connecting, but it's not just the day-to-day grind of how's your day? How's your day? It's about being a bit more creative, and particularly with kids, meeting them where they're at, like just asking them little questions that will pique their interest, that are playful, that are more. It may seem silly to an adult to say to a kid, or what was the funniest thing that happened to you today? But the kid will hear that and go, oh, Dad, you'll never guess what so-and-so did, and really bring that connection piece back. There's a wonderful psychologist who I've done a webinar with last year called Dr. Joanna Fortune, and she has these great books, which I highly recommend to all families, but FIFO families, and they're called How to Connect with Your Kid in 15 Minutes. And it's different ages. So she's got 3, so one for little kids, one for sort of primary school kids, and then one for teenagers as well, because teenagers still need that connection. They just need it differently. And it's all about age-appropriate ways to really connect, and it's about quality time, not quantity time, because this is why we live our FIFO lifestyles, a lot of us. It's to have that quality time together over little bits every night or a weekend or whatever it looks like. That's why a lot of families choose the FIFO lifestyle over a 9-to-5 in the city.
What is Untapped? What made you start that, and what is it that you do, and what is it that you help people with?
When we go in and help clients around whatever problems they're having, it's typically a performance issue. The performance comes as a result of the system, right? And people interact with the system. So in a lot of respects, it's not a technical solution, it's a human solution that's lacking. And that is the work that we do in Untapped, where everyone is treated as an individual, and what coaching they're going to need depends on their own experiences. The idea at the time with Untapped would be to provide leadership training, coaching. So Untapped for me was about untapping people's potential, investing in people, like the people who join our business, the podcast, the undergrads. If we're able to do that, we should do it. Something that's always stuck with me, and it's one of our values at Untapped. People go where they are wanted, and they stay where they are appreciated. If you can create an environment where people want to be part of that, and then you value them, appreciate them, then you've got a great platform for whatever it is you want to achieve. So that's Untapped in a nutshell.
And it's, you touch on so many really important things. Something that stuck out to me, what you were saying before, many things, but you said you're not going to fuck up your kids.
Yeah, you're not.
You are? Like,
well,
you know what I mean?
Well, you might in other ways, but just because you're a FIFO worker is not going to be the reason.
It's interesting because I have this conversation often is like we have this obsession with being perfect in anything we do, not just being a parent. Yeah. And, I've put off being a parent because, I didn't want to fuck up my child. I wanted to make sure I'd healed this or moved through this. I'm making sure I'm choosing the right partner. And having the conversation with a lot of my friends is that even if you give them everything that they need, which is you're there with them all the time, maybe they have financially, you've got enough to provide for them.
Yep.
Maybe as kids, they're having as much fun as they possibly can. They've got food on the table. They get to do all the sports that they want to.
Yep.
Everything that you think a good childhood would look like.
Yep.
And there's going to be something because we're human beings. And I think the best kind of advice that I've had a friend is that there's going to be something wrong with your parenting because look at how you speak about your parents.
Yep.
There's something that maybe they gave you time, but they didn't give you financial stability.
Yeah.
Maybe they gave you financial stability, but that came at a cost of them being away.
Yeah.
And so that's the best kind of thing. I love that you said that because I know it came from, you're not going to fuck it up because of FIFO.
Yeah.
But that, speaking about how it's okay, like you're doing your best.
Yeah.
Are you doing your best that day? Are you doing your best in your relationship?
Yeah.
And does your best look different every time? One thing that I find with mining or just, being in the world in general is that it comes to the base of a relationship or why you got together. I find that you speak about your relationship where you had a conversation and you were like, hey, this isn't working for us. We need to change it.
Yeah.
I find the foundation of a relationship is they haven't had hard conversations.
Yeah.
They haven't courted for a long time. They're not necessarily in love with each other. They haven't chosen each other to be life partners. They've chosen like, I need to get married, I need to have kids, and I need to provide. And they don't necessarily know much about each other. So I find that is sometimes the basis of where the resentment starts because it's like, I don't even, I love you, but I don't particularly like you. And having that distance of being away all the time, you don't get to form your relationships how you get to know each other. And then chuck in mining and FIFO and being away, and there's that even more resentment, even more distance that comes.
Yeah.
And kids are challenging, right? You love them as much. I don't know if this is appropriate, but I share this when I go up is that kids, you want to chuck them in front of the bus as much as you want to save them from it, And I've heard that so much from parents from both sides. You did touch on, the things that you don't want to give advice around. I'm going to be that kid. I'm going to be that person.
That's okay.
Of like, what do you find? You have a lot of conversations with parents and you have a lot of conversations with, the parent that's at home. What is the little bits of advice that you're like, okay, everything changed when I started doing this or, I saw a huge difference in our relationship when we started doing these small things?
Yeah. It's the same answer every time, and it'll be the hill that I die on. Support, support, support. You cannot do this on your own. Now, that looks different for every family. I'm not being deliberately vague here, but to build that connection back again, and it comes down to that connection, and to build those relationships, to build those foundations, you have to get support to give you the space to do it. Because otherwise you do fall into this Groundhog Day of churn and burn. Oh, I'm coming. Oh, I'm going. Oh, it's just R&R. Oh, it's school. Oh, it's just daycare. And oh, you've gone again. Oh, it's work. Unless you consciously make that time, and that may involve paid support. This is another thing that comes up a lot. People are always around oh no, but I can't possibly pay for that service or this service. It's like, if you don't have a village, and we talk about that quite a lot as well. And a lot of my families here are migrant families. They move to WA. They don't have Nana who can just pop down the road to babysit for a night. If you don't have that level of sort of social network yet, come to the meetups, meet other FIFO families, build that network. But that's where you may have to pay for childcare. You may have to pay for a babysitter. You may have to find a gym with a creche so that you can spend that time together working out as people who you are as partners and not just parents, because otherwise you just get lost in the fog. And the other side to that as well is what's come up a lot for partners at home is because they are the only ones there, they are switched on 24/7. They are burning out because of the fatigue from being that one sole source of responsibility for these small people 24/7. So when their partners come back on R&R, They say to me sometimes, oh, it's just like having somebody else in the house, but I expected it to be so much easier than this, but it's actually harder because there's just somebody else here and they're not helping. And that expectation and reality and assumptions are the worst in that space, because he's home from R&R. I assumed that he would be getting up the kids each night. Oh, well, I've just come off night shift, so she should know that I'm actually tired and that I've got to sleep throughout the day. Nobody's a mind reader. Unless you get the support to have the space to have those conversations with each other and it sounds really, sort of forced or staged sometimes to say, right, who's going to do what, when, with who? But getting those conversations out there early, having that, again, that's connection as well, because it's hearing that I need this, you need that. Okay, well, how are we going to make that together? That's how we're going to make the difference. So then it's not coming back and having that resentment, having that disconnect, living that Groundhog Day where it feels like there's just somebody extra in the house. The FIFO workers come back and feeling like, I don't fit in anywhere. I don't know what I'm doing. You want to come back into that team. You want to come back into that unit and be working together well, whatever that looks like. And again, that's different. And if you don't have those outside support networks, that village, that family that can come in and also support your family, to give you the time to support yourselves as people and as partners, not just as parents, you're going to have to outsource that. You're going to have to outsource that support, because you can't do it all and you can't do it on your own.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is it's what that money might cost, or that might cost you money to get a cleaner, for example. It might cost you money to get somebody to come in and help if you don't have the village that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that money is going to be so much worth it, because it's going to give you time.
Yeah.
It's going to give you, good frame of mind to be a better parent or a better partner.
Yeah.
I think we sometimes get so stuck in, it's like the pride of what the perception is of being a parent and what the perception is of being a partner.
Yeah.
I've got to do it all, and the not enoughness. I'm not enough of a mum or a father who's at home. I've got to cook, I've got to clean, I've got to have, run the tight ship.
Yeah.
And then also the expectation of the partner who's away is they're there sacrificing, going and being away from their family, but still not feeling enough, like they're providing. So it's this constant battle of this person doesn't feel enough and this person doesn't feel enough. So it can be like a bit of a minefield, right?
Yeah, and coming back to that connection piece, so when you're not feeling enough, well, how can we then bring each other up to feel enough? Like, what does that look like? Like, what do you need? What are you resenting me for? Because it's generally something you're lacking in.
Yeah.
And that might be time. That might be free time to do X, Y, and Z. If you're feeling resentment because you're feeling burnt out because you're doing everything, okay, well, how can we release some of that elsewhere? And we've touched a couple of times on sort of financial stability, and I think it's a really important conversation to be had around the industry that we work in and high-income earners, that sometimes that the media portrayal of FIFO workers and FIFO families, it always comes down to income, which is not the reality. We live these lives for so many different reasons, but also I think, and we were sort of talking about it before, and it's just come to me then that one of the biggest differences with families or FIFO workers or FIFO relationships, that where it works well, quite often it will be said, oh, you need a goal to get out. And I don't think that's the reality for a lot of FIFO families and FIFO workers. It's not about anymore, oh, we're going to go up and save X, Y, and Z so we can build a house. It's not about the money. It's about the lifestyle, and it's about the future for you and your family and your career and why you do it. So if your why is, I only do it for the money, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for your family or your partner. It's just not. You're going to fight constantly. And like you say, it's never going to be enough. That is not enough. You're making yourself the number. People always say, oh, I'm just a number. They don't care about me as a person. Well, if you say you're only in it for money, you're doing that to yourself. You need to work on your why as a person, so as the FIFO worker, as a partnership if you're in a relationship, and as a family unit if you are a family. So if your why comes down to financial stability, to be able to provide a house and a home and X, Y, and Z lesson, or whatever it is for my children, that's your why. Because when days are really hard and you're both running on empty and you're both angry, miserable, tired, resentful, absolutely had a guts full of being a parent. I don't know those days. Then you've got to be able to come back to, why are we doing this though? What are the benefits? Because every lifestyle has pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to work in town, you're going to have pros and cons. Or if you choose to work FIFO, you're going to have pros and cons. Everything has its give and take. That's life, right? But unless you're on the same page as you either individually for your personal reasons for going, for your personal goals, your personal careers, your couple's careers, or your family unit goals, not careers, that is where the biggest disconnect I find is that you're not connected on that why.
There's so much that comes from, being in a relationship. I love that you've touched on all of those things. I love having the tangible kind of takeaways and talking about all the stories as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that for you to be so passionate about having these kind of conversations, it's come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
What was your upbringing like when it came to relationships or parents and things like that? For you to be able to have this in-depth kind of conversation with people, you're not necessarily a psychologist or a relationships counselor or anything like that. A lot of the time, the best people to give advice are people who've been through it or seen what works, seen what doesn't. What was your upbringing like? If you don't mind me asking that question, what did you see that you liked and what did you see that you're like, oh, I know I can kind of navigate that better?
So I think I was brought up in the UK. My parents are divorced. So they divorced when I was a teenager, which is challenging at best.
I love that.
It's challenging. But I've done a lot of work on myself through that as well. But I think for me, the empathy piece has always been around humans, connecting with humans. Like I really, really find that sort of connection piece with people. It's always been in me, like from go. But I would say that has been part of a catalyst for me, would be my upbringing. But for me, it was more around my diagnosis of stage 4 cancer at 29, which was completely blew my world out of the water, and my husband's world out of the water, and my family's world out of the water. Because it changed my perception on how I saw everything, like how I looked at my upbringing, how I dealt with some of the challenges that had been around that divorce, that had potentially just been sort of sitting with me, that I hadn't really been facing or dealing with. I'd just been sort of moving past it, with it, on with it, that sort of thing. When that kind of life-changing moment, it doesn't have to be cancer, it can be anything, but when that kind of life-changing moment really happens to you out of the blue and out of your control, it really makes you sort of stop and take a look at your life and think, actually, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I don't know who the fuck I am anymore, but I'll work it out. And then moving forward with that, so looking at what we wanted to do for me and my partner. One of the main things for me is that I had always wanted kids. The treatment that I had to have to survive meant that it would leave me infertile. So we had to go through that. What would our lives look like without kids? We were both FIFO workers at the time, and we'd been married 6 months. So our entire lives changed like overnight. And that is something that I don't want anybody to have to get to that massive sort of catalyst in life to be able to look at what's happened in the past that they're dragging along with them, to go and go, okay, I need to put that down now. If you're dragging stuff along with you and you know it's there, everyone knows it's there, whether it's like glaring you in the face or it's just, you're dragging it along on your back. It's to have a look at it and just to deal with it, just to really deal with it. There's so much more support out there these days. There's so much education and information and access to support that it is available even when you are ready to seek it out.
You share, so I appreciate you sharing so vulnerably around, having that diagnosis. I can imagine there would have been, like you said, you were just like, oh, I don't want to do this, and you had that kind of moment. What is it what's like a pivotal moment, or what is it that you kind of stopped doing or you changed? Was there a time in the hospital or when you received the diagnosis or within a moment with your partner that you kind of went, oh, I've been doing this and I wish I'd done that? Or what's your advice, I suppose, from one side of the diagnosis to the other side?
I think for me, I stopped believing in statistics.
Yeah.
And that goes a bit further than just numbers on a page, of course. But one thing that was said to me was, you are not a number, you are a person. So statistics can tell you certain things. And I do believe that data is important. I'm being very general here, but it's a case of you are your own person. You can decide what you choose to do with this. You have choice, and you have your choice how you're going to frame this, how you're going to use your words, how you're going to use your actions to move forward, and it's your choice. And my husband and I made a lot of choices that people didn't understand and they didn't agree with. For example, I had to go through chemo for 3 months. We had just bought a house. We were both contractors. We decided together that he was going to continue working FIFO while I went through treatment, because we're down to one income. We had to make that decision together. There are still people in our lives and in our families who don't necessarily agree with that decision, but for us as a partnership, that was what worked, and that's what we needed to do at the time. I do remember saying to him, I don't need you to sit there and watch me be sick. Yeah. I can do that by myself. And he felt a lot of guilt around that. But we did it because it was what was right for us. And in doing so, we had the agreement that if I was ever hospitalised, then he would come back for that. Mm. It happened. He did. His company were phenomenal. His crew were phenomenal. My crew, we were on the same site, different companies at that point. My crew and my family were phenomenal. They were all supporting him and all getting around him and really making sure it was okay. But again, it was about not thinking about what everybody else would think, not looking at numbers and statistics, and me and my husband coming together and going, well, what's going to work for us? Mm-hmm. Like, what can we do? And I think sometimes it's real easy to get swept up in the noise and what everybody else is saying and what the media is saying or what social media is saying or friends and family, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's got an opinion about something, right? There's another saying around that, but I'll leave that one.
No, please.
Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one.
That's such a line in Kigo.
Yes.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
But it is. And particularly in the FIFO industry, and particularly with families, FIFO families and children, everyone's got an opinion, right? But if it works for you and your partner and your family, and you have had those open and honest conversations regularly and often, not just once as well, because sure, we set goals, but life changes, right? So regularly and often checking in that that's what's working for you and your family. That is all that matters. All the numbers, all the statistics, all the Facebook groups, all the, rumours on site, if there isn't one, start one, buy a crib, all that kind of bullshit, it doesn't matter. If it works for you and your family, that's what you've got to focus on.
I think that's a great place to end, actually. I appreciate all the insight. I can imagine we could sit here for the next 16 hours and talk about your journey, and I've got so many questions still. But it's been a pleasure to get to know you and see what you're working on. I've had the pleasure of watching that whole journey. Yeah. I'm really excited for where the FIFO Family Project is going to go. Thank you. And it's exciting. And all the families that are going to be impacted by this, because it's like, the ripple effect that you get to make in helping, you help this person and it helps others. You create that village like you're talking about. So thank you. I appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been great to chat with you.
How can people find you? What can people expect from the FIFO Family Project and get involved?
Yeah. So our website, the FIFOFamilyProject.com.au, it has all our information on. You can find me on socials, on LinkedIn, and all our events are available through Eventbrite. We currently only have 2 meetups in Perth. We've got a 3rd coming online really soon, but the aim for the rest of the year is to get local meetups happening in different states as well, so that we can connect FIFO families all over Australia.
Love that. And loves a chat. I know that you've supported people through being new mums, being new parents. And so that support's going to be really valuable for a lot of people. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, you've taken something away, maybe for yourself or somebody else, I would love for you to share, and I'd love to hear from you. We are always keen on having conversations that people want to have and tackling those really hard subjects. So reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me on the Resource Podcast, where we are making a ripple effect and making massive waves.